So I was at a press conference yesterday in Calgary at Hotel Arts. Loads of legacy media there and independent media. It was a big announcement. It was Keith Wilson and Tanya Clemens announcing their campaign kickoff of a new third-party advertising group called Let Alberta Decide. And a lot of people have been waiting to see a good formalized campaign getting going as the referenda is 4 months away. It was the 4-month mark from when the voting day will be in the referenda that are going to be held in Alberta this fall. But there was an incident, and it just really reflected where a lot of legacy media is and how they stand, and the petulance of some of them, and the bitterness. So I want to go over some of that. I was sitting there. The first question, when it went to the question and answer period for the press conference, Tamara Lich was at the front of the line, and she asked a question, and before she asked it, she quickly said to Keith Wilson, "Big fan." And I'll just play it so you can see how that went.
Mr. Wilson, Tamara Lich with Rebel News. I'm a huge fan of your work.
Thank you.
For those Albertans, or for those who say Albertans should just wait, trust the process, and be patient, how much patience and public trust is reasonable when many people believe the process itself is no longer certain?
Okay, so that's non-conventional. Fair enough. Typically you'll not put something out to somebody before a question, but really it's not a big deal. For those who know Tamara and understand, Keith Wilson was her lawyer over the convoy stuff, and he's been very, very helpful for her and such. All this, and then after that, her question was perfectly fine, a good, solid question, and so on. And the answer came afterwards. The issue was once this fellow, I guess, Skylar Peters from Global News got up to the mic and had a temper tantrum. So let's play this out as he scolded Tamara Lich from the mic because he was quite upset.
Hi, Skylar Peters, Global News. I have two questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First of all, I do want to make a comment to Ms. Lich. First of all, when you say that you're a huge fan of someone's work, you put a stain on this microphone, and everyone that comes here after you has to speak into the same microphone. So I appreciate if you stay objective when you ask questions to people that are, stating their case. With that,
Isn't that something, mate? Put a stain on the microphone. Speaking of disdain, it's as if he does feel that independent media people, will pollute the media world. They defile what they touch. Like, really, dude? Talk about pathetic. Talk about insecure. Put a stain on this microphone. Oh, dear. Like I said, if, perhaps Tamara shouldn't have thrown that little part in the front. It wasn't a big deal. It doesn't matter. It would have been forgotten because it didn't really skew things. It sure as hell didn't put a stain on the microphone. But what Mr. Peters did do was expose the insecure, sad state that a lot of legacy media journalists are in these days. And he's a prime example of it. And a lot of them aren't like that, but he sure was. And the funny thing was, when he went on that little tirade, I thought, isn't this the same guy who had the temper tantrum at Ezra Levant in a media room in Ottawa during the debates last year? And so I looked it up later. No, that was a guy named Stuart Benson with the Hill Times. But have a look at the picture. I mean, these guys obviously go to the same fashion consultant or something, or maybe they're related. I don't know. But I can be forgiven for mixing the two of them up. They certainly have similar attitudes. They really do. But whatever your thoughts might be, Mr. Peters, it's not your role to take an open mic at a press conference to chide and lecture other journalists in the room. And I want to get into that. Let's start with that definition of a journalist, okay? Because let's be honest, you're not a real journalist. Sure we are. I am too. But there's distinctions, absolutely. There's different types of journalists. I'm an opinion writer myself. I make no bones about that. I don't write news copy. I hold way too much bias to do that effectively and credibly. So people know full well what I'm writing about, who I'm interviewing people about, what I'm talking about has my opinion injected into it. But it's still a form of journalism. People mix that up with reporter. A reporter is a different story, where definitely a much higher bar of non-bias has to be shown. But they're all journalists. Now, I might be a bad journalist. That's fair game. Fair enough, you know. I might be an ineffective journalist in many things. I don't know. Fine. Those are up to opinion. But when you start, you're not a real journalist crap. No, I am, as is Tamara, as are the rest at Rebel or Western Standard. But I just want to talk about getting to the root of this insecurity on the part of guys like Mr. Peters. I can understand a little bit of it. I'm not saying it's justified for him to act out like he did. But these guys in legacy media, I'll just give a quick backstory. When I got into my adult working career, I started in the survey industry, in the oil field, 30 some years ago. And I had to put in years as a rodman for surveyors and then as a chainman measuring things before I was even allowed to touch a transit. And then I was a junior surveyor for a couple of years, and I'd had to learn the formulas and turning angles and things like that. And finally, I was, out there on my own, quite proud of myself. And all of a sudden, this thing came along called GPS. And bang, a guy in a couple of months of training could do what took me years to learn, climbing through the ranks of abusive, hungover surveyors yelling at me in freezing cold weather standing at a transit. I was pretty frustrated. I was pretty ticked off. It sucks. Who are these up-and-comers to knock me aside? The funny thing is, I'm sure there were older surveyors as I was learning as a junior surveyor saying, these guys don't know what they're doing. They got laptop computers to process their solar observations, and they're using an EDM for their distances. I didn't have to do that. It's just the way it works as technology goes along. But you got two options when technology changes your career front. You either adapt and move with the new times, or you get left behind. Those are your two options. That's the only two options. Look at the history of media. Again, this must have been similar well before our time. Think of how it must have felt for print journalists when radio suddenly became popularized and it started eating their lunch. These guys who would have to, type out and write and do all their stuff and make long, interesting stories, crazy deadlines to be able to get it in print and get it out there. And even as fast as they moved, the best they could do is get those newspapers on the street hours after the news event happened. Suddenly, these up-and-comers, these uppity radio guys are out there reporting on the news within minutes, perhaps, of it happening. And in short bites, they're saying, look, this is just a 5-minute news report. We need to cover it more and in depth and with writing. But that's how it went. And they said that guy got hired not because he was a brilliant journalist, but because he had a good, deep, booming radio voice. It's the way the times go. So if you got a squeaky, stuttering voice, I'm afraid you just weren't a radio personality. But that's how things change. And I'm sure these radio guys who got well established, they really dominated things. Everybody surrounded the radio to catch the news until television came along. And then suddenly we've got guys who are putting out news in bites, who are catching more readers often because they're better looking. Let's face it, the nice shiny white teeth, even on a black and white newscast, the good hair, the rest. If you got a face like a can of crushed arseholes, you got to stay in radio. That's the way it works. That started taking the scene, and I bet it drove the radio and the newspapermen nuts, right? This becomes more shallow. Now we have video clips that are inflammatory and catching the eyes rather than going in depth in the stories and things like that. But you had to learn to adapt to it. And, fast forward all the way to today. And things have changed dramatically. Newspapers have been decimated. Newsrooms are a thing of the past. The huge building that had the Calgary Sun and the printing and all of that up on Deerfoot Trail is now a U-Haul storage site where hundreds and hundreds of people used to work only 20, 30 years ago. The television newscasts are trying to compete with Netflix and Prime to get people's eyes. It's just not the world it used to be. And these up-and-coming independent media outlets are now eating the lunch of the legacy outlets. Rebel Media with people like Tamara, Western Standard with people like me, they're coming up. And it's not without the help. See, some can adapt. Who's running the newsroom at the Western Standard? Dave Naylor. And he's applying 30 years of newsroom experience to that because Dave, rather than roll over and die when the industry dried up around him, adapted, found a new source, and started working with it. It's a smaller market to deal with now, but Dave's in there. And that's part of why the Standard grew as well as it did, because these guys try to say there's no professionalism and such with independent media, and that's a load of hooey as well. Guys like Dave maintain solid standards within the Western Standard. Likewise, Ezra Levant A media background, has had many well-established media people within his organization. But then you look at how we compete for the ears and eyes of people. And that's part of the new media now. There's got to be some personality. There's got to be some background. That's part of what draws people in. Tamara Lich has proven herself to be smart, tough, even though she's almost half the height of Mr. Schuyler, probably. And it just didn't hurt her feelings when that clown went at her. She showed herself to be a person who's active out there. And now, in the role that Rebel Media has given her, she's been able to apply that as a good journalist out there. And it eats these guys up. Because she didn't climb the ranks through journalism school. No, she did it through life experience and events and activity. And it put her there. Sheila Gunn Reid at Rebel as well. Similarly. You know, she's from a farm background, but she's just slowly but surely worked into the media world, and now she's an integral part of the foundation of Rebel Media, just because she had that inherent brilliance and ability to communicate, report, and and offer a degree of making it palatable and entertaining. And yeah, myself as a former surveyor. Again, not the top of the field by any means, but I adapted, and it turns out I have a bit of a knack. Some people like reading my stuff, and a lot of people like listening to my shows. So off we go. Rather than pout about folks like us rising up and becoming the ones that are dominating the legacy or the new media scene, these guys, these Schuyler Peters, these Stuart Bensons, you got to adapt, guys. You got to move with the times, because bitching about it is just going to get you left behind. And adding some color and personality doesn't mean that the news copy isn't accurate. And it's not all about looking pretty. I mean, otherwise, yes, it would be all just Tamara and Sheila out there. See, guys like me still manage to get out there as well. But it's adding that experience and that commentary to it. I mean, look at one of the greats. And don't worry, I'm not even implying I could touch the toenail of a man like that. But somebody like Walter Cronkite, okay, he didn't get up there just on shiny teeth and good looks. He added, though, his opinion and his thoughts, based, though, on a lot of experience in having been in the field, gone places, seen things, observed things, and he wasn't afraid to push against things. He changed the world in a lot of ways, particularly with the Vietnam War. Brilliant. But is that some sort of cut and dry, non-opinionated news copy sort of thing? No, this man added what he had within him to his journalism, and he turned himself into an icon and set the stage for anybody to dare to dream to aspire to the type of journalism he conducted. But I'm sure there was a lot of envy when guys like him began to dominate the news and things like that, and a lot of frustration for some who either weren't willing to change and move up with things as the world changed, or weren't able. I guess that's pretty frustrating. If you don't have the talent and the ability, then you are kind of screwed. Maybe you should look into making lattes or something. But when we see outbursts like that at a news conference from this Schuyler Peters and Stuart Benson, I go to these conferences as well. I know I'm a bit of I'm an activist. I do my other things on the side as well. I'm not a conventional type of journalist, but I still go to these events. And yeah, I'm not exactly welcome with open arms by a lot of the established guys there. And again, I understand their frustration. Some of these guys have been in the trenches for 20, 30 years, and guys like us are getting more views and reads than they are now. It can be a piss off, but adjust to it. And not every person in there's some great legacy media people, and some ones that definitely write better copy than I ever could and cover events more effectively than I can. But let's move forward. We can be competitive, absolutely, that's fine. But to try and belittle and freak out when others are getting in there, guys, get over it. We're here. We're not going away. Staining the microphone. Really? Man, that was sad. I mean, just the small dick energy that came out of that fella in that short tirade was just embarrassing. I was embarrassed for him almost. And it did mess with the tone of the conference. Tamara's statement didn't. His weird tirade did. Either way, I just wanted to speak to it and cover it because it was just an unusual event. We're going to see more let's cover those things. And just my tips, not that they want to hear them, but for some of the guys caught in legacy media right now, you might want to adapt your attitudes and your forward thinking on where things are going to go. And you know what? I should remind you, there's Sheila Guns Reid's book behind me there on the shelf. Fantastic Independence Blueprint if you want to get some good literature and writing. Or, of course, Tamara Lich, Hold the Line. Links are in the description. Grab a copy. See what writing from a strong, confident person sounds like, rather than Schuyler and his insecurity. Likewise, Sovereignist Handbook from, yes, me. As we go into a campaign, it's a good time to get honed up on campaign techniques and how to make a better case for independence. So I have it all packed into that book. Check it out. Perhaps grab a copy. It's in the video description. All right, I didn't plan on doing a video this Saturday, but I felt I have to. And I guess just for a quick update for folks on the pathway to independence, it's going great. I know there's still frustration on people waiting to get signs, but lots of people have managed to get their signs so far, and we're getting there, guys. It's been incredible support, and that's part of what I'm dedicating a lot of this weekend to, is catching up on all those emails, getting things organized with local coordinators and such, and getting all those signs out to everybody. Check out all those TPAs on and third-party advertisers for folks wondering on the Elections Alberta website, and find the ones you want to support during this campaign, because we got 4 months to go and a lot of hearts and minds to win.